What's up guys, Justin with AmericanTrucks.com. We got a 2013 FX4 F150. We're gonna break down specs, we're gonna talk suspension kits, and what else we did to make it all work. Check it out. First up, the foundation. Now for this particular truck, this owner went with the Rough Country 2-inch lift kit. Yes, lift, not level. There are rear components and we'll break those down in a second. But first, let's talk about this front setup a little bit more because it is a bit more unique in the category compared to the sea of strut spacers you see out there. That's not the case here with the Rough Country kit. Instead, they utilized what is called a lifted strut design. And what does that mean? Well, this is the stock strut right here. And basically what Rough Country did is move that perch or collar up on the actual body a little bit more to give you that front end additional lift. Now there's some pros and some cons to that. Your pros, you're maintaining full articulation of the front suspension, full droop, and it's gonna give you a little bit more off-road performance thanks to the nitrogen-filled strut up here and a little bit more on-road control as well. The cons, listen, they're gonna be a little bit more difficult to install because you have to break down your front factory strut assembly using a burly spring compressor to get your factory spring off, put it on the new Rough Country strut here. So that's really your only con. But other than that, guys, I think the juice is worth the squeeze with a lifted strut. And it's my way to roll when we're talking about 1 to 2 inches of additional front end lift compared to a strut spacer. But enough about the front end, let's go ahead and talk about that rear setup a little bit more. And this does have some rear end components involved, and that does consist of the matching N2O rear shock, also from Rough Country obviously, N meaning nitrogen filled to match that front setup. And this actually includes a 1-inch rear block from Rough Country to be used with your factory block on your 09 to 14 F150, and again, giving you that 2 inches of lift both front and rear. Now the rear block is interesting because it gives you some flexibility. Some owners actually forego that rear block from Rough Country, just rock the N2O rear shock here with the factory block in the back. Basically, that'll give you a little bit more of a leveled appearance, maybe a tad bit nose high. Or if you install the block, well, then you're gonna get that rear end just a little bit above the front end here, which is great if you do a lot of towing or a lot of hauling in the bed. It's gonna kind of reduce that squat whenever you're pulling a heavy load or throwing a bunch of stuff in the bed. So you got some flexibility here with the Rough Country kit, and overall, guys, for $300 to $400, I really like the bang for your buck with this particular kit with the lifted strut up front and again, the corresponding rear setup. But enough about the suspension, let's break down the wheel and tire setup. Well guys, here they are. This is the Havoc H103 18x9 with a -12 offset. Now Havoc makes some pretty interesting looking wheels here, guys. This is a little bit more subdued in their category. Not a lot of machining going on, which I personally like. You still have some hardware and stuff like that, a little bit of flash, but they're really not too over the top. The H103 is a good looking wheel. I really like the H109 as well, but overall, this is a nice wheel, satin black here, and again, with that -12 offset, should have a good bit of poke here with the FX4. Now, the Havoc wheel is wrapped with the Cooper Discoverer AT3 tire, 305/65 R18, which basically works out to be a 33.6 with a 12-inch section width. Now, the AT3, sure, it's an all-terrain tire as the name implies, but Cooper doesn't try to hide the fact that they really focused on road performance and traction and long life with this tire. You're gonna get a very quiet ride while on the highway, but if you do try to venture off-road here or there, this tire will certainly help get you through some tricky situations. But overall, guys, again, a nice looking wheel and tire package, and with that offset, should look pretty good once it's on the truck. So what do you say we bolt these things on? Well, here they are, guys. The Havoc wheels are in place. I think they look great, just the right amount of poke. I wouldn't change a thing. However, this is not my truck, so the owner does have one more part in mind for this particular build to cover these things up a little bit, keep the truck a little bit cleaner, and ultimately not get him in trouble with his local laws because, let's face it, some states do mandate that any poke is covered by some sort of flare. So, spoiler alert, we're about to throw on some flares on this thing and see how it looks. All right, guys, so as you can see, those Havoc wheels are in place, as are the Barricade Aggressive Molded Fender Flares. Now, again, we talked about these a little bit earlier on and why this particular owner ran them. Well, again, that aggressive offset on the Havoc wheels, -12 offset, so a bit of poke, and his local laws do mandate that they have to be covered up. So this is actually one of the more affordable options you will find on the site, just north of $200, about 2 more inches of coverage off the body line. And honestly, the wheel and tire setup, they fill out the flare real nice. Truck doesn't look like it skipped leg day, it's rather flush. So I'm a big fan of this. Not usually a big fan of flares on a truck. Personally, again, I like a little bit of poke, but I'd say it works, especially with the white and black theme. But let's cruise on over here and talk about what we had to do to fit these puppies underneath the FX4. Again, very aggressive offset, -12 to be exact, which introduced a lot of poke, especially when compared to the factory offset, which is +44. So therefore, that introduced the smallest amount of rubbing for both front and rear plastics here on this truck. But Tony made short work of that with his body saw. Now, no rubbing, lock to lock, they fit great and they absolutely look great. But believe it or not, guys, Rough Country actually claims you can fit a 35 by 12.5-inch tire underneath this thing with their 2-inch lift kit in place when using a factory offset or back spacing, which to me is gonna be very, very close for comfort, especially if you do any semblance of off-roading. So with that being said, I definitely recommend you guys stick with the 33s. Well guys, hope you dug this video. As always, comment, subscribe, let us know what you guys think. But in the meantime, thanks for watching. For all things F-150, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.